And we're going to supplement it with some shrubs and underplanting a few new trees to just make it thicker and better where necessary. We're introducing a new fence on the northern half of the site, again, the public area, so it'll be a 5-foot high, custom designed metal fence, not chain link, and it's going to be powder coated in a color that's complementary with the building. This project introduces stormwater management to the site, which didn't exist before. So there's grassy infiltration and conveyance swales across the front of the building, on the east side of the property and on the west side of the property. And then down at the south end, there is a detention swale and an infiltration gallery. So at one point in the design development, we talked about a wetland, but the wetland used up too much room, and BC Hydro didn't have enough space to actually function and move your trucks around. And so working with Saanich Engineering, we came up with this infiltration gallery, which is sort of the end of the treatment train, and everything will be cleaned before it goes into the Saanich pipes. This is where the existing tennis courts are. They'll be maintained. And they'll be maintained, and we're adding as an amenity some parking beside them, and there's a secondary emergency access off of Viewmont that's going to be located here, and that parking will come off of that. And then finally, in collaboration with the Tri-Eagle, this is the Tri-Eagle Plaza here, that's the original Hydro building, which is now offices, and this is Centennial Walk, the condo. In collaboration with Tri-Eagle, we're introducing a universally accessible path that will go on the BC Hydro right-of-way, but which sits on Tri-Eagle property, and it will connect the site to West Saanich Road. So you'll be able to come from the bus stop and from the crosswalk into the site easily, and of course anybody from the mall could also use that, so now they're safe pedestrian. And I just happen to know that Tri-Eagle is putting a path through here as well, so actually the Centennial Trail could take you out to West Saanich this way, or you would be able to safely navigate that parking lot up to that trail and get out and into the mall. That's it for the landscape. The team is here for any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Winjack. Councillor Dermott for the question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I guess the first person at the mic would be the one I would like to address this to.
Could you say your name again? It's a unique name, and I don't think I wrote it down.
Steny Kokolova. I can spell it for you.
Please.
I'm not going to try.
I would like it in case we call you back.
Okay, S-T-A-N-I K-O-K-A-L-O-V-A.
What's the last three? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the applicant. Appreciate some of the improvements and amenity on the site that have been detailed, stormwater and others. But when I look at this, and it is a very much improved building, but what I see in front of me is a very large, flat-roofed building that sits right out in the middle with nothing very close to it. What an incredible opportunity for BC Hydro to lead by example and to provide a demonstration project if they were to include on top of this solar panels for much of the building. It's an incredible opportunity. And is it something that Hydro has considered?
We have introduced actually solar panels on some of the previous projects. We haven't really thought about solar panels for this project. We'll probably ask Bryce to address this question. It is more of an engineering question versus owner representing question.
Well, I'll leave that till later. But you know, if they haven't, I don't understand why. It is something that on public buildings, and particularly from energy providers, is happening in most of North America, let alone the rest of the world. Not very much in BC. As the energy provider for this province, it would seem a huge opportunity for BC Hydro to provide leadership and provide it in this example. A follow-up on that is, when I look, I don't even see in the building plans provision for installation of conduit to make that possibility on the roof easy to accomplish in the future if you didn't do it first of all? Has that not been considered?
It hasn't been considered now. And then for this particular building, but as I said, we have tried with
Well, no, I'm not
solar panels
interested.
on other buildings.
Yeah,
This
no,
is
sorry,
why we
but I'm
have-
not interested in other buildings and problems.
Councilor
I'm
Durham, I
interested
think we should
in this
allow,
building.
Councilor Durham, I think we should allow her to try and answer the question.
Okay, fair enough.
Yes, thank you. So the reason for not even trying here is the cost of maintenance and the difficulties it creates to the maintenance crews after we complete the project. This has been the only reason from owner's point of view.
Does it not cost almost very, very little to put conduit in to allow for the possibility in the
We
future?
would
We
consider
reaching,
putting conduit in for future consideration, yes.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further questions, Councilor Durham? No, I see the microphone on. Councilor Haynes.
I'm going to share the same concern. My question would be, across BC Hydro as an entity, is there no policy about embracing renewable energy opportunities in their buildings when they can, when we are asking our residents to do the same when they bring forward a development application within Saanich? So, as a municipality, we're trying to move forward on greenhouse gas reduction as BC Hydro. So there is no mandate then from Hydro on how we design this building. It's entirely up to you.
No, it is absolutely mandated by BC Hydro, and the mandate is to create a cost energy efficient building, cost efficient and energy efficient. And it is up to the design team, to the engineering team to provide options and to BC Hydro then to accept or reject the options. What you see here is what the design team have been proposing and the owner has agreed to.
So with that opportunity in front of you, I apologize. Am I good? Yeah. So with that opportunity in front of you, with a building of this size, can you tell us about any energy generating technology you're embracing in the building?
Can I ask our engineering team to answer this question?
Geothermal, solar,
Let's let him answer.
please.
Please come forward.
Good evening. As Danny had mentioned, my name is Chris Buzika. I'm with WSP. I'm the engineering design manager. To the question over here, if I could address the first one as far as sustainability. The project is designed to adhere to LEED Gold design standards. The energy targets for this building are anywhere from 75 to 100 kilowatts per square foot. So it's a very energy efficient building. And as far as to what Stanley has alluded to on past projects, BC Hydro has entertained solar panels, also in fact green roof technology, but it has just proved to be cost prohibitive for that. As far as conduits, there's definitely provisions for that. We have vehicle charging stations, so allowing conduits for solar panels is not possible. As far as to answer your question there we are using air source heat pumps from the mechanical engineering, from the mechanical design standpoint. So, this is a sustainable building, and we are, once again, designing this building to LEED Gold equivalent.
Yeah, please.
So, thank you very much. This is very interesting. So, can you confirm then that BC Hydro has not been able to find cost neutral or cost positive solutions in using solar power on their buildings? Is that what you're saying?
I can't comment for the past projects. I don't know the particulars for them. We're just under that was done by a previous design firm, not us. But we could, we could take that back and find out what the details are. It's just, they have entertained it in the past, and it's just been cost prohibitive.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? Thank you very much. Then we shall now invite the public to make comments on this proposal. Welcome any comments from the community or individuals. We just ask you to please step forward, say your name and address, and just a reminder that you have approximately 5 minutes.
Do you mind if I use a slide for that?
Sure. Absolutely.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Chair, Saanich councillors, Saanich council staff. My name is Richard Blondon, last name spelled W-A-N-B-O-N. I reside in Saanich at 4153 Spring Ridge Crescent. Today I wear 3 hats. I'm a homeowner in Saanich. I'm an emergency department pharmacist with a special interest in disaster management and planning. And quite simply put, with these 2 hats, I'm quite supportive of the idea of a secondary access to the BC Hydro lot for disaster prevention purposes. However, I have a 3rd hat, and that's I'm the president of the Saanich Tennis Club. You know, the 2 courts that are in the southwest corner that you can see on the side of the imagery here are our courts, and the location just to the north of that is an area of green space where the proposal is to put the secondary access through there. So now, my understanding, and this could be wrong, but my understanding is this is leased land to Saanich Parks until 2021, and that is provided to us to run our community club. With that said, if you can bear with me, I'll try to quickly go through what our club is about, what we do for the community, how we've integrated our services with Saanich Parks, and how this proposal affects us in about 4 minutes, if I can. We were formed in 1971. We've been working with Saanich Parks for many, many of those years. 1990, the club was started, was established agreement for the land lease with BC Hydro and Saanich Parks. We continue to run a low-cost, non-profit society for our community. It's run by volunteers. We have a large junior program. To give you an idea of what we do, 3 months of the summer, we provide weekly lessons to juniors in our community for the cost of $25 per year. It's something that we've maxed out on with 2 courts. We now, in the last year that I've been a president, we've increased our membership to over 200 people, and we've had no complaints from our neighbors at all in the general area. We have members of all ages, ability, and we also maintain public hours for the growth of the sport in our neighborhood. I want to be very delicate in stating, I know there's a history of tennis in Saanich with the clay court proposal, and I just want to simply put, this is very different. This is polar opposite. We're for the community. Since 1970, we've maintained a low-cost non-profit society for the community. We have agreements with the schools in the area. The Royal Oak community brings their classes to our courts with no cost to the school. I'll move on in just stating that the proposal from BC Hydro is actually fairly timely for us. There are some extensive issues with the court services in the area that are forcing us to look in the next few years at doing some major work to the area. We're also looking at the potential to try to expand to 3 to 4 courts, as we are maxed out with over 200 people, 2 courts, and the issues that we have with many school kids on 2 tennis courts swinging around it. So I'd just like to move on. One last point. In speaking with Saanich Parks and Recreation, they would love for us to work with them in partnership to have another site in Saanich where there's more than 2 tennis courts. We have many tennis courts. We only have 1 site with 4 courts where you can actually run programs that are large enough to serve a larger community. And that's at Lambert Park, which is on the border of Saanich East. So we would like to continue to try to work towards a better plan for Saanich West. So to really quickly move into this, the property with the secondary access has been a site that we were hoping to expand to. And a few years ago, we actually have architectural drawings in place. We withdrew moving forward with that because of the Cedar Hill clay court proposal. But there were plans that we were hoping to move towards at some point in time. The current parking situation, we actually share parking along the street at the moment with the neighbors quite heavily. and it's the only main access to Bryant Park that I'm aware of where people park their vehicles. The other two street parking entry points do not have adequate parking for people using the park. There's not currently a problem, but we hope that there will be in the future.
Mr. Wanban, I'll ask you to please conclude your remarks.
Thank you. So to really quickly summarize the last points, if this proposal were to go through, I'd ask that we relook at the secondary access to see if there could be any kind of manipulation with how it is structured, so that we have the potential to still utilize that space if the lease were to be continued.
I will consider that a question that I will propose to the proponent. I am going to ask you at this point, you have your 5 minutes, and to respect the process as you conclude.
May I ask respectfully, we are on this property that is currently being leased. Can I ask one more question for
Very, very quickly, to be respectful of others.
Most appreciate that. Our community and Saanich Parks has invested money into this property for this purpose. If we were to relocate or have to do more restructuring to this land because of this development, that will be at a greater cost to our community and to Saanich Parks, and I would ask that we consider a potential grant to support this. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wanban. Would anybody else wish to come and provide input to council? Very good. Welcome to our meeting.
Thank you. I'm Victoria Shannon. I'm with Hansgrohe Investments. We own and operate Royal Oak Shopping Center right next door at 4410 West Saanich Road. And we were involved in talks with BC Hydro right at the outset of this project. And what I'm looking for from them is some confirmation of the information we had at the beginning, which was there's no change of use of the building, therefore no significant traffic impact with what's going on there. I did hear a comment about customers paying bills there, and as far as I know, that's not a current use there. Is there going to be a change of staff? Is there going to be a change of traffic? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I shall consider that a question regarding the change of use of building and increase of traffic when we come back to the applicants. Any further input would be welcome, and welcome, please start her again. Mrs. Woodworth, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to thank BC Hydro for reinvesting in our Royal community. I support their efforts, as well for the general, for the original public amenity from approximately 1972, the Viewmont tennis courts. It is nice to know there is now 16 hours per week of public access, so that's up from 8 when we first started. I support the conversion of the land use contract to the requested P2 zoning. Through the chair to the WSP consultant, I had a question about the CPED crime prevention program. I have concerns regarding privacy and also possible light pollution for the adjoining residential properties. Can you elaborate on this program and how it will possibly affect the residential properties? To the engineer, I have 2 questions. On the development servicing requirements under general item number 5, there is an encroachment noted and it says that it must be eliminated. Can you provide a time frame? Would it be before the public hearing or before the permits are issued? Also under the road number 5, again, there's a conflict exists about a curb and a large concrete water vault, and it needs to be resolved, so I was just asking about the time frame on those 2 things. And finally, it's all well and nice that WSP and BC Hydro are putting in a 3-meter path walkway on the north between themselves and the shopping center, but it basically goes nowhere because it ends at the residential. So there's like, I don't know, 10 or 15 feet from Viewmont to where their property, well, it's probably more than that, probably 40 or 50 feet. I would really encourage BC Hydro and the shopping center to work together to make that community link for the people on that side of the subdivision to the eastern part of the shopping center, because people do a lot of walking in Royal Oak, and we need lanes, and that would be really nice if they could work together to provide that amenity. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to consider that as a question as well. So the question, just to review, Mrs. Whitworth, if you don't mind, because you've gotten several, I'm going to make sure I'm clear. You're wanting to have the applicant respond to CPED regarding a crime prevention program, light pollution, and then to our engineering staff requirement around the encroachment noted under B4, is it?
Under the general item number 5,
5.
and then under road number 5, I just want to, they say that they have these conflicts, but I'm curious to know what time frame they're talking about when they get resolved, because if they're not resolved before public hearing, then, you know, we don't know as a public when they're going to be resolved.
I just want to be sure, but Director of Engineering, do you have that listed as items that we will come back to you? I also then have curb and concrete regarding the water vault. I think that's for you, Director of Engineering. And then a last question, which will be to the applicant, having been working with Hans Brownveld as well as potential walkway. Thank you very much, Mrs. Whitworth. Sorry for making you go back and forth. Any further input from the community or individuals on the phone? I'm afraid you've already spoken once, so...
Okay, I was going to address the issue about the walkway.
Well, the applicant can do it, and if you want to whisper to them in the interim while we're hearing any further input, that would be certainly up to you. Calling for a second time for any further input from the community. Calling for a third time. Thank you. I will ask the applicant to come back to address a number of questions, and then we'll turn it over to council. So I'm going to start with Mr. Wanbon's questions at first, which I'm going to interpret as he has asked, could there be more space provided to allow for an increase in size of the tennis club and yet somehow maintain emergency access route on Viewmont? So that, I'll just do them one at a time rather than trying to inundate you with a list of questions.
As you can see here on this site plan, we can take further a detailed look with the landscape architect, but the intent there was to avoid impact to the existing trees. That's the intent.
Thank you very much. So that answers that question. I believe the question Mr. Wanbon asked regarding a grant for tennis use potentially would be more directed aptly to council rather than to the applicant. So I'm going to defer that question at this point. Mr. Wanbon, you can speak to me afterwards if you wish, or to any member of council. The next question came from, I forgot her name, but the lady from Handcrown regarding the change of use of the building, and will there be an increase to traffic?
No, in the, as part of the development permit application, and it's included in the report, we've confirmed with BC Hydro that there's virtually the same staff count, and there's no change to the existing use of the site.
So the comment made about being able to pay your bills, can you clarify?
That is no longer, it's no longer permitted.
Thank you very much. Then move on to Mrs. Whitworth's questions then, and I'll ask you to elaborate on the crime prevention program reference to CPED and light pollution for adjacent properties.
Okay. So with respect to, well, they go hand in hand, CPED and lighting pollution go hand in hand. We conform to the district's very strict outdoor lighting bylaw. With respect to the CPTED requirements, the general intent there is to reduce crime. Let me just go over to site rendering. With that, we do take, this is obviously a fully functioning yard for BC Hydro, so what we've taken into account there is with the lighting levels there, and it's occupancy controlled, that it provides a very uniform level of lighting so that the workers, in the event of an emergency, they can go in and work in the yard very easily. As far as surveillance goes, there's extensive surveillance throughout the site. There's very few blind corners that's created, we feel, with this site. So we feel that we address the CPTED guidelines.
And And the light pollution adjacent, I'm assuming that you want.
The Viewmont, again, there's a very strict set of outdoor lighting pollution guidelines by the District of Saanich, and we meet those.
Thank you. I would ask you just to stay, just in case there's any concurrence that needs to occur between yourself and Director of Engineering. And I believe that, or do you want to try to take a stab at some of the other questions?
No, the one comment there, if I could address the Royal Oak City Shopping Center.
About the
The pathway?
trail? Yes, that, you might as well, if that's.
Is that the next one? Sorry.
Well, the next were to Director of Engineering regarding some issues, but while you're here, let's not waste time.
You know, we feel that with the 3 meter, with the pathway that links West Saanich Road to the site as well, you can see by the pedestrian access and on an earlier site plan. But we also have access that is for both staff and the visitors, and we also have access to the Royal Oak Center Shopping Mall, which we create for the staff here, which is on pretty much dead center of the north parking lot.
If you don't mind sticking around, but Director of Engineering, a couple questions that were posed. If you can talk about the encroachment.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, through the chair. So the first item was under general conditions. I'm not hearing me here. Under general conditions, the encroachment for the northwest corner of the building, that would need to be resolved prior to the issuance of the building permit. The second item was under the road for this large the southerly curve return at the West Saanich Road. That would largely need to be resolved before occupancy of the building. However, my understanding is some of this proposed road work at West Saanich may not be going forward, and maybe the applicant can talk a little bit more about that. I believe that was supposed to be in conjunction with the Royal Oak Shopping Center across. Don't believe that's actually proceeding anymore.
So just to be clear, these would have come then after the public hearing, but before permitting?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much for answering that question. Did you wish to add on to anything that the Director of Engineering said? Okay. Then the last, no, actually you did deal with the question regarding the transportation corridor, I think, as Mrs. Littler questioned. Unless there's any further questions then that I didn't hear, please, Council, correct me if I'm wrong. I shall now turn it over to Council for a decision, and you're welcome to have a seat, sir. Looking for action from Council. Councilor Rice.
Move the recommendation.
Move the recommendation, seconded by Councilor Haynes. Any discussion? Bryce?
Thank you.
We'll start from there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this investment in this particular piece of property is advantageous to Royal Oak. We've seen some big changes in Royal Oak in the last 10 years, and this building, along with the development of the seniors facility across the way, will really do a lot, I think, to just give a very tailored and attractive entrance into that part of the community. I think that comments have been made regarding the disappointment in the decision by Hydro not to showcase some energy efficient demonstrations or even to utilize it in the project is disappointing, that it's not a showstopper for me. I think that the other improvements certainly justify supporting the recommendation.
Thank you. Councilor German, Brownhoff, and Haynes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also appreciate the reinvestment by Hydro in the Royal Oak community. Certainly, there are a number of upgrades, or would be a number of upgrades as a result of this project. There is certainly a general cleaning up of the site. There are improvements in landscaping, and also in the handling of stormwater, which are desirable and beneficial. There is some energy upgrades. Appreciate it being LEED Gold. LEED Gold isn't bleeding edge anymore. It was 5 to 10 years ago. It certainly is not now. Certainly, a building that's built through passive solar design is going to be far more efficient than a lean gold building, which is the requirement now in a number of parts of Europe, for example. But I do continue to be disappointed about the failure to apparently seriously consider using this building as a showcase demonstration project, and indeed leading by example, or looking at putting solar photovoltaic on the roof. Especially since that is no longer really just a showcase or a demonstration. It is an economic viability to it. I'm sure the representatives of BC Hydro realize that the cost of solar photovoltaic panels has gone down by over 80% since 2008. It's not very long ago. The expectation is by the early 2020s, the remaining cost will drop by an additional 25% at least. The expectation, even in British Columbia, is that solar photovoltaic will be cost competitive with grid by the early 2020s. It's very early in the lifespan of this building. So there's, Hydro is a public company in many ways. It is an energy provider, and it has here a huge opportunity, I think, to lead the way without costing, in fact, over time, probably being economically beneficial to Hydro, as well as beneficial in terms of the environment. So I'm hoping